Hey there. So I want to talk about, I have a lot of people that come up to me and they'll say, oh, like, what is this positive parenting? Why do we need it? We all came out just fine. Look at us. We have families, have jobs, we're living life. We're fine. We're absolutely fine. And here's the thing I say to them. There's a lot of things that look fine on the outside, but on the inside, there were a lot of missed opportunities. Let's look at, for example, emotional regulation. How many of us were taught emotional regulation? How many of us, when we were angry, when we were frustrated, when we were having a hard time with those emotions, were taught how to deal with them? Most likely we were yelled at to be quiet, to go to our rooms if we started getting worked up, because our behavior wasn't appropriate. But they weren't looking at why we were acting the way we were, and they didn't help us with that. So how many people started self-medicating, right? Maybe in high school, people started using drugs to self-medicate because they were feeling all these feelings and emotions and they didn't know how to calm themselves down. How many of those people are now in therapy, in and out of therapy, are struggling with the relationships, right? Because they never learned those skills. So yes, we're here, we're functioning, we're resilient, we're okay, but there was so much missed opportunity in using those skills. And let's look at our relationships with our parents too. You know, a lot of people had very strained relationships with their parents. They weren't talking to them. They weren't bonded close, like, we loved our parents, but did we sit there and really talk to them about life and things we were struggling with? Did we go to them? Were they the first people we went to when we were struggling with something? Probably not, because we were worried if we admitted something we did wrong or something we were struggling with, we would have gotten grounded or punished, or we would have been yelled at or shamed. So we probably didn't go to our parents for a lot of things. And who do we go to? We go into our friends. Probably got some really good advice from them. So the relationship we had with our parents was more of, the person, the boss, telling us what to do, and we are to comply and listen. And it didn't create a connected relationship. And it probably created a lot of stress and a lot of bad will between parents, a lot of power struggles, a lot of you don't understand me. And believe me, even positive parenting, kids will never think their parents understand them. That's just part of the whole gig. But you know what I mean. It's a very different relationship. A lot of parents now have a really close relationship with their kids, and they're very connected to their kids and in tune with them and understand them and are able to help them if they're stressed out, or able to help them problem solve. Most of people in our generation didn't have that relationship with our parents. And they meant well. They were great parents. They did the best they could. But at that time, it was about providing, making sure you were fed, making sure you got to school, making sure you were safe. Well, not even safe. I was out riding my bike all over the place, right? Very different situation. But those were the expectations. And they did a great job. I mean, for what they knew and what society was requiring, they did a great job. They didn't understand all of these things. I mean, heck, they were raised by their parents who didn't teach them any of these things. So there's just so much opportunity with, there's just so much opportunity with doing it differently, right? We can use tools that don't make our kids resent us and push them away and make them angry, but it can make them open to trusting us and looking to us for guidance. And this is something, especially as they get older, especially as they're teens or young adults, we can't control those kids. And so building a relationship of I tell you what to do and do as I say and comply is not going to set us up for a long-term healthy relationship. A lot of us have strained relationships with our parents for different reasons. I mean, I'm actually really lucky. Love my mom. She was the typical parent of the time, loving parent, wonderful. But yeah, I didn't talk to her about things. We talk now, and she's like, "Oh, I never knew that." Of course you didn't. I didn't talk to you about these things. And she's really come around because as a grandparent, she's learned these tools, and it's changed our relationship. So she and I are doing so much better now. But yeah, growing up, very different relationship than what I have with my kids. And she now uses that with her grandkids. And it's so nice to see. But so many of us do not have good relationships with our parents, or at least close relationships with our parents. And today's kids, it's a whole different ball game. And we're looking at closer relationships for the long term. We're looking at less therapy. We're looking at kids who have the tools and don't have the shame when they cannot handle their emotions. A lot of us were made to feel like something is wrong with us if we could not handle our emotions. And we just didn't know how. We just needed someone to teach us how to handle our anger. So, or anxiety, or whatever else was going on. So here's what I say if you are struggling or you don't see why positive parenting, even if your kid is, compliant, even if your kid is really easygoing and, great and you don't have any problems. If you're using the old school strategies, you're putting a wedge in between you and your child. Because compliance isn't the goal, is it? That's not really what we want. We want to teach them skills. We want to have a long-lasting, close relationship with our kids. And traditional parenting does not set us up for that, right? We love our kids. I mean, sure, they might need to go to therapy. I mean, again, imperfect world. But we can help them have better relationships when they're older. We can help them manage those big feelings. We can help them do better than we did. We can break that generational cycle and change the tools that we use. So our kids can come to us and we can teach and mentor. So what do we want for kids? We want good relationships with us. We want them to be resilient and emotionally regulated and mature, and we want them to have problem-solving skills and all these other wonderful things. And we can teach that to them if we use different tools. If we rely on punishments and yelling and bribes and threats, we're just going to push them away and we're not going to teach them anything. And they are going to find another way to cope. And that's the other thing is on the outside, kids look, when parents are like, oh, I don't need it, everything's fine. Kids look compliant, right? They're doing their homework, they're going to school, everything seems fine. They're meeting all the requirements, right? They're listening to us, so things seem great. But what we don't know is, do they have a undiagnosed learning disability they're not telling us about because they don't know? They just know that they're really struggling with the work and they're worried to tell us because they don't want to get in trouble for getting a bad grade. So instead they cheat. Possible. Or maybe they're getting into drugs because they're trying to self-medicate. They have all this anxiety and stress and they don't know what to do with it. So they go and they self-medicate. That could be happening. And again, parents are like, oh, kid seems fine. Nothing's wrong. There's a lot of things that kids will do that parents have no idea about. And the more we use those traditional tools, the more they're going to go underground and we're not going to know that they are doing these things. And we're going to think everything's fine. So positive parenting, one of the things we do is we change our definition of what success is and what we want. Traditional parenting is about do as I say and compliance, right? Those are sort of the main goals behind all the tools. A good kid listens, right? A good parent can make their kid listen. That's sort of old school. But again, look at what that sets us up for, relationship-wise, skill-wise, emotional regulation and literacy. Look how that sets us up. And then look at positive parenting, where we want to build connection. We want to use challenges as an opportunity to teach skills. They throw something, let's talk about anger management, right? They're struggling with a situation, they're overthinking something, let's help them with critical thinking, problem solving. Let's not punish them because they haven't finished their homework, right, when they were supposed to. Let's look at why they haven't finished their homework. Let's help them problem solve and learn the skills that they are lacking. So when we come in with this, with the intention of connection, compassion, helping our kids become adults, independent adults, then we're going to use different tools. So, which do you want? We all came out fine. Here we are. I don't know about fine. I'm a little crazy, but we're here. We're living life. But I think we can do better for our kids. I think we can do better and we can break those cycles and start doing things differently with our kids. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much.